Hi class, as I said, here is the video on the spelling words. So I hope you'll bear with me. I want to go through the words and explain them a little bit to you, and hopefully that'll help you learn them. So I'm on our class webpage in City Point Central, and I scroll down. Yours will be a bit different because you're on an iPad. I think you'll be scrolling down further to get to week 1 spelling city test. I'm going to click on that and we'll go through the words. Okay, the first word is boulder. Now, boulder is, most of you probably know, a very big rock. Massive rock, actually, not just a big rock. My house is built on a big boulder, and you'll often see boulders when you say you go canoeing down a river. You'll see this massive, huge rock on the side. I would call it a boulder. Next one, borrow. Can I borrow your pencil? Easily confused with lend. A lot of people are like, can I lend your pencil? Or can you borrow me this? Remember, if you lend something, you're giving it to somebody to use for a while. But if you borrow, you are borrowing from them. Next one, bored. Something that many of you feel in class, hopefully not in English class too often. Feeling bored, nothing to do. I think you know that one. Next one, bow. Now, bow is on a branch of a tree pretty much, but it's quite a big one. And so branches are smaller, but a tree bow is like a bigger branch that you can sit on. Next one, burglar. Burglar is a robber, somebody who might come into your house and steal from your house. Normally, we don't say a burglar would come into your car. They could, but that would be like maybe just a thief. But a burglary is usually when we're talking about somebody going into a house to steal things. You can have a burglar in an office, of course, even in a bank, but it is stealing from a place that you have entered illegally. Next one, business. Mind your own business. You can start a business. This is an interesting one because a lot of people forget how to spell business. But one thing that might help you a little bit is, the way I learned to spell this is you take the bus in when you go to business. If you're a businessman and you're going into work, you take the bus in. And so if you learn to spell it like that, then you won't put a double S there by mistake. The double S is at the end. Next one, calm. This is how you should feel right before an exam. So I think you know what calm means, I hope. Remember, it's got a silent L. So you spell it calm, but you say calm, which is really weird, I think. English. Okay, next one. Learn how to say this one correctly. Listen, benevolent. I'll say it again, benevolent. Now, benevolent is a great word. If somebody is rich and has a lot of money and they are generous and kind and they give to people all the time, you might say that they are a benevolent person. We often talk about a benevolent businessman or a businesswoman. So it really means somebody who likes to give other people things and money and is generous and kind to them. Next one, balk. It's got a funny spelling, A-U-L-K. It's like balk, but we say balk. Now we don't say the L sound, so it's easy to forget that there's an L in there. Say if you were riding a horse or a mule and suddenly they saw something out of the corner of their eye, your horse might balk. In other words, they suddenly stop and kind of rear up on their back legs and they balk. Sometimes when you're about to move and instead you stop suddenly, you might balk because you saw something. So often it's like out of surprise, but it's also if you just say, I'm not going to do it. Sometimes we say, if somebody was supposed to do something. You know, they were supposed to help me, they were supposed to play on our rugby team, but at the last minute they balked and said, no, I'm not going to do it. So it's kind of a refusal, a sudden refusal. Okay, next word, blasé. Say it again, blasé. Blasé is another wonderful word. It's a really cool word to use because I think some of you probably have this kind of attitude in class. It's like, yeah, whatever, like who cares? I'm just gonna sit here with my blasé attitude because I don't feel like working. So it's kind of a little bit spoiled. It's like, I just don't care very much. The word apathetic is similar to that. It just means like you've been spoiled a little bit and you don't care. And so you really shouldn't have a blasé attitude when you're in school. Next one, boy. It sounds just like boy and girl, but there's a little bit of an extra boy in it. A floating buoy marks the channel, that's the sentence there. It's what you see floating in the water. Okay, if you go and if you have a boat and you go into the ocean and you might see a yellow or red thing floating in the ocean to mark something out, that's called a buoy. Good word to learn. Next one, brevity. Brevity. Brevity is being able to say something in a short amount of time without using too many words. You know, the opposite of this is talkative. Some people just like talk, and others are like, you know, instead of saying, if you're a talkative person, you like me, you might say, hey guys, do you want to go to the shops? I really feel like going to the shops because I'm hungry, I'd like to go buy something. What do you think, huh? That's being talkative. Now, if you have a friend and their talking style is one of brevity, they might just say, let's go to the shops. That's it. And so, you know, you can say his brevity was amazing. Like he was able to say something with just a few words. I think brevity is a good thing. Next one, couplet. A couplet is a kind of poem. And I'm going to show you a couplet here. So you have two lines and they kind of have the same rhyme and have the same meter or rhythm, and they make a complete thought. And so look at this one here. She was a little tense. The notice made no sense. It's kind of, you know, tense and sense rhyme, and they sound the same. They have the same rhythm, and couplets are fun to write, and often you see them kind of on their own. So I'll read a few more. I saw a little hermit crab. His coloring was oh so drab. His red sports car is just a dream. He needs no gas, it runs on steam. So, you know, these are like just two lines. And sometimes you might write a longer poem and finish with a couplet. Two lines that rhyme. That's why they are called couplet, because it's like a couple. Get it? Next one, sonnet. A sonnet is also a kind of poem, and it has 14 lines with fixed rhyme scheme. So, a sonnet has 14 lines, it has a specific rhyme scheme, and some of you may not remember this, but hey, I think some of you are quite advanced in English, and so I'll tell you, it has what is called iambic pentameter. Now that's a very special kind of rhythm. It has 10 syllables per line. One is stressed and one is unstressed. Now I'll show you what I mean. So have a look at one of Shakespeare's most famous sonnets. He wrote a lot of sonnets. Now if you count them, there are 14 lines, and each line has 10 syllables. Let's count them. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? That's 10. Now the way the stress is, it's on every second syllable. So you don't say, shall I compare thee to another summer's day? That sounds really weird. But the stress is always on the second syllable. shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Okay, so it's like each line has 10 syllables, it has a nice rhythm, every second syllable is stressed, and that's called a sonnet. You could write a sonnet and follow that particular structure. Have a look at this modern day sonnet that someone has written in 2018, this year, not too long ago. I just found it online, I thought I'd show it to you. I'll read it to you. I thought a bit about the friends I've had, since childhood and through school days then till now. Some friendships have been bliss, a few turned bad, yet even then I've gleaned some good somehow. The friendships in my youth, like blooms of spring, made life so sweet, but flowers wilt and fade. New seasons come, new friendships blossoming, but I do not forget strong bonds I made. I'd move away, some moved away from me, our lives becoming different, and so each one who vanished is a memory I've cherished, though some cruelly let me go. This much I've learned, fair weather friends abound, but through the storms my true friends stick around. It's not bad. It had a few rhythm issues here, but hey, it's a modern day sonnet. You could write one. Okay, next one. Haiku. You've probably done this in primary school. Everybody does primary school haikus in primary school. 3 lines, and I'll just show you some quickly because I think you've probably seen them many times before. They have like a 5-7-5 structure to them, like this. An old silent pond, an old silent pond, that's 5. A frog jumps into the pond, that's 7. Splash, silence again, 5. 5-7-5, they don't have to rhyme, they're kind of deep and meaningful, and they're meant to make you think about something quite deep. And so, yeah, it's an example of a haiku. You could try write some. Next one, limerick, the fun stuff. And I'll show you a limerick here. I'm sure you've seen these since prep. There was an old man in a boat who said, I'm afloat, I'm afloat. When they said, no you ain't, he was ready to faint. That unhappy old man in a boat. So I'm sure you've read lots and lots of limericks. You can Google them. They're fun to write. And I won't repeat the one that I told in class, even though it's my favorite one about the man from Sparta. Okay, and next one, ballad. Ballads are fun. They're like telling a story. So a ballad is like a longer poem that tells a story. So here are 3 things that ballads do. They tell a story, they use a lot of imagery, and they're often put to music. At least modern day ballads are. And you can Google ballads and have a read of some of them. Waltzing Matilda is a ballad. It tells a story about a swagman. And I thought I'd show you a modern day ballad. Beautiful song, Tears in Heaven. It tells a story because this singer, Eric Clapton, sadly his young son died. He fell out of a window of a high-story building, a window that was left open, and he died. And Eric Clapton was so heartbroken, he wrote a song telling the story of Would You Know My Name If I Saw You in Heaven? And he's talking about his son who died. So it's a beautiful song. I encourage you to look it up, but it's a modern day ballad. Next one, argue. Now these last 3 are verbs, good verbs that you need to learn how to use. So when you argue something, you are often disagreeing with someone. That's one thing. So if you argue against your mom says clean your room, and you say I don't wanna, then you're arguing with her and you might have an argument. Now, argue also means kind of to prove something. So if I want you to argue your case, I want you to show me that what you're saying is true and prove it. Clarify. If something's not really clear and you say something like, I don't have my homework, Mr. Harry. And I say to you, could you clarify what you mean you don't have your homework? Do you mean you lost it, or you didn't do it, or the dog ate it? Like, I need some clarity here. I need you to clarify. So, good word to learn. And sometimes in an essay, you need to clarify your point. Last one, define. If I ask you to define something, I need you to tell me the meaning in some words. So, from define, we get definition. And it's a good word to learn. That's it. 20 words for this week. I hope this has been entertaining and useful, and you will never forget these words again. Goodbye.